Hello racing fans, welcome to another episode of the big Group 1 racing show for the racing season of 2016/17. This is episode 3 and today we are previewing the Group 1 George Main Stakes. It is a race that will be ran on Saturday the 17th of September at Royal Randwick. It features one of the best horses going around at the moment, and that is Winx. This horse is going for its 11th straight victory. Can it do it? Well, of course it can. I'll be getting into having a look at Winx as well as all the other horses right now. Okay, let's get straight into looking at the field for this year's George Main Stakes. Of course, the sponsor name is the Colgate Optic White Stakes. Of course, this race being ran at 3:15 p.m. on Saturday at Royal Randwick. Of course, you can watch the race live on 7/2 and also Sky Racing 1. You can see there that Winx is the big favourite of this race at $1.20. At $11 we have Hierarchy and Tosin Startum. You then have Lee Roman at $15. At $34 It's Somewhat. Great Esteem is at $126 along with Venbra. And then at $201 we have Spirit Jim. So that is the field for the 2016 George Main Stakes. Let's have a look at the field in depth. Let's start off with number 1, Tosin Startum, coming in at $11 and is trained by Darren Weir. Craig Williams has got the jockey job for this horse in this race. It's coming out of barrier 7. It ran okay in the Feehan at Moonee Valley a couple of weeks ago on Cox Plate preview day. It came out of barrier 5 that day and came 4th over the 1600 metres. Definitely a chance to place. I'd definitely be placing it in the top 4 to finish. I'd actually be expecting it to finish in the top 4 considering that run. And yeah, its last run wasn't a bad start. It hasn't got a bad record over the 1600 metres. However, the winning range is only between 1800 metres to 2000 metres. So it hasn't really ran and won over that 1600 metres before. It's ran over that 1600 metre distance but never won. So that's the question coming in to this race for the 6-year-old stallion. So, but definitely a chance to place, and no doubt a chance to finish in the top 4 of this race. At number 2, backed by the punters at $11, we have Hierarchy, who is coming off a great win in its last start at Royal Randwick in the tramway over 1400 metres. It's coming out of barrier 5 in this race. It won that race from barrier 7, so the barrier shouldn't be an issue for this horse. Jockeyed by James McDonald. I reckon this is the second best chance behind Winx of winning this race. It may challenge Winx, but I think Winx will just be that tad stronger. But this horse is coming into this race with some good form, and I expect a top 3 finish, no doubt about it, from this horse. Backed by the punters at $34, we have number 3, It's Somewhat, also a John O'Shea trained horse. Of course, Hierarchy is also a John O'Shea trained horse. Tim Clark will be aboard this horse throughout the race. Coming out of barrier 4, it came 4th in the tramway at Royal Randwick, 3rd in the Dubberton Cup earlier in the year. It's not in bad form, however it hasn't been winning races. I think this race will be a bit tough for this horse. I think it might finish about 5th, because I think there's some horses who are just a step above this horse. But you can't rule it out. $34 is not bad. I've seen this horse come in at shorter odds than that. It's not in bad form. You can't rule it out, but I think this race is going to be tough for this horse. Coming in at number 4, we have Spirit Jam, backed by the punters at a whopping $201. Its winning range is between 2,000 metres and 2,500 metres. So I think this horse is going to find it very tough to run over the 1,600 metre journey and win at Royal Randwick in this race, the George Main Stakes. It's coming off a few trial runs, only came 7th in the Dubidon Cup. I think this race is going to be tough for this horse, and the odds definitely explain it, but also the form guide as well. Number 5, we have Great Esteem, backed by the punters at $126. It is trained by Stuart Webb and jockeyed by Kieran McAvoy, coming out of Barrier 2. Won from Barrier 1 in its last start over the 1,700 metre journey at Caulfield. It's coming up to Sydney at Royal Randwick to run in this George Main Stakes race, and I think it will find it quite tough. Of course, it ran beautifully in its last race, but I think you know, the standard of this race I think will lift, and I think it will find it hard to get in a good place and win this race. So, but it'll be a good experience for this horse. And the barrier, well, it should do well from the barrier. It may get out a bit early. That's what the speed map is suggesting, but yeah, I think this horse will be trebled down the straight, and yeah, it'll be a tough race for this horse. Number 6, we have Leroy Main, who is backed by the punters at $15 rather, and is trained by Chris Lees, coming out of Barrier 1, came 2nd from Barrier 1 in its last race in the Tramway at Royal Randwick. Of course, like I mentioned before, Haraki won that race, so it's probably going to be up there neck and neck with Haraki to try and claim that 2nd spot. I don't think it has the potential to beat Winx, but I think it will definitely be there in the top 4 or 5 horses. I'd probably be expecting it to finish in the top 3 because it's not in bad form. It's coming off, in its last 4 races, it's coming off a placing in each of those races. Hasn't won a race for a bit, but yeah, like I mentioned, in its last 4 races, it's coming off a placing and should place in this race in the George Main Stakes. Coming in at number 7, we have Van Bra. Glenn Schofield will be riding this horse. Chris Waller is the trainer of this horse. It's coming out of Barrier 3. It came 5th in its last run at Royal Randwick over the 1,400 metres. Its winning range is between 1,200 metres to 2,000 metres. Its last race, Winx was actually in that race and actually won that race. So and that was in August a couple of weeks ago. So I think this is going to be a very tough race for this horse. 4th in the Rosehill Guineas, by the way, earlier in the year. I can't see this horse getting up anywhere near the top 5. I think it probably will be at the bottom end of the field, no question about it. The odds definitely explain that. So does the form guide. Going to be a tough race for this horse. And last but not least, we have one of the best horses going around at the moment, and that is a Chris Waller trained horse, and that is Winx. How good is it that we've been able to see 3 or 4 great horses over the last few years? Mackivy Diva earlier on, and then of course recently Black Caviar, trained by Peter Moody, did some sensational things, and now Winx is going for its 11th straight victory this Saturday in the George Main Stakes of 2016. It's done some wonderful things. Of course, that Cox Plate win last year was absolutely incredible. Since then, it has just been a well-known horse, and well, can you believe it? It's won 10 straight, going for its 11th straight win this week. I can't fault it. It is in great form, of course. It's been in great form in its trial runs. Of course, it got pulled out of a race a couple of weeks ago, which was at Royal Randwick. Of course, Chris Waller, I thought, did the right thing. Obviously saw that the horse was not right to participate in that race, so it pulled it out and got it ready for this race. So it's coming off a great win in the Warwick Stake, of course. Doncaster it won early April. It's the one to beat, no question about that, coming in at $1.20. I'm backing it all the way, no question about it. Okay, let's get straight into my tips. I'll start with first, and that is, of course, number 8, Winx. I can't fault it. As I said before, it's going into this race with some very good form, and it is the one to beat. So that's all I'll say, because there's nothing really else you can describe this horse as. I guess the only thing you can really describe this horse as, if it does the 11 straight this week, is absolutely legendary. That's the word you can pretty much describe that horse as. And then number 2, I've gone Hiraki. Did very well in the Tramway a couple of weeks ago at Royal Randwick, of course. And yeah, I just think it's in good form. Of course, the distance suits, and it may challenge Winx, but I think Winx will get away and win this race pretty easily with Hiraki coming in at second. And then I have got at third Le Roman coming back by the punters at $15, coming out of barrier 1. The barrier should suit, the distance should suit also. Came second in the Tramway. I think it's actually, now that I think about it, I think it's going to battle it out with Hiraki for that second place. And I think it might be neck and neck, but I think Hiraki will just get that second, and Le Roman will have to settle for third. And last but not least, we have the roughie of the race, and I've given Tosin Stardom the roughie of the race for the George Main Stakes of 2016. A nice little Japanese horse going into this race with some good form. Fourth a couple of weeks ago at Moonee Valley on Cox Plate preview day. It's got a good barrier 7. I think it will be out early, I reckon. In fact, the speed map suggests that it will be neck and neck with Winx early, but I think it's going to be... So yeah, I think it's going to be one that you'll have to look out for, I think. Maybe $1 each way bet. Maybe we'll place. Probably stiff not to get in the placings before, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a nice little Japanese horse that Darren Weir has invested in. And that is it for this episode of the big Group 1 Racing Show. Thank you very much for clicking on and watching. Don't forget to like, comment and share this video, and subscribe, because a new episode of the big Group 1 Racing Show will be back next Friday, the 23rd of September. That's episode 4, and it will feature 2 ripping Victorian Group 1 races. That is the Underwood Stakes and the Sir Rupert Clarke Stakes. I'll be previewing both those races on next week's edition of the big Group 1 Racing Show. Until then, I'm Jacob. Enjoy the George Main Stakes this week. Bye for now.